This is the A to Z podcast. Expert insights on leadership, business, real estate, investing, and growth.
If you have believed that there's no way you can change your underdog status, this session is for you. If you've been told that your circumstance, your setback, your destiny is sealed and there's nothing you could do, I show you how that's wrong and a couple of things you could do to transform your destiny from underdog to top dog in the area of your passion and industry. I had this engaging conversation with someone. The discussion was based on two of my books. He didn't like them. They were about motivation, unchain your greatness, and the highest level of greatness. He pushed back. He told me that AZ, you and I, we are like minorities, and talking about greatness is not really our thing, and we should not talk about these kind of luxuries. And he mentioned what I should do instead, what kind of things I need to write about. Of course, looking at me, underdog, he didn't see greatness in me or around me. And he was like, why are you writing about greatness? I don't blame him. But the things he mentioned, why I should not talk about it, was the main discussion today, which I'm going to share with you. He started to tell me that once you are underdog, once you are a minority, forever that's your destiny. He told me that if God wants you to be poor, insignificant, if you want to humble you to educate other people using you, who are you to say no to that? If you commit a sin and if the devil is choke holding your throat, there is no way you can get out of that. If you're born in a country or a system where you're discriminated, people like you are discriminated, there's no way you could beat that. There's no way you become successful and great in that kind of system and country. He kept on going. Look, you could be born in a culture which glorifies lack, sadness, mourning. There's nothing you could do. There's no way you could be able to be happy, successful in the culture. He said that if you're born in a subculture, and if you don't have talent for what that culture signifies, you're done. He was giving me some examples. If a subculture celebrates a kind of sport, and if you don't have talent for that sport, there's no way you could be succeeding in that kind of subculture. A subculture may also glorify music, and if you don't have talent for music, there's no way you could succeed in that subculture. If in that subculture, gangstership is the way of life, you don't have any chance except joining the gang. He went on to tell me that if you're born in a family and the family psyche is not empowering, it takes you lifetime to overcome that. I didn't dismiss all of these excuses why we underdogs are unable to transform our destiny. I was just giving him alternative ways of addressing these challenges. I was mentioning that, okay, you can pray. Why not fast? Why not meditate? Why not vote? Why don't you join forces who are fighting that system to change? Why don't you leave the culture, the subculture? Walk away from that family psyche. And he was like, no, 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 no. He gave me a very interesting story about someone who had impact in a culture at a system level. People like that, he told me, could make changes, not like us, minorities, underdogs. This was the story of Oprah Winfrey. It was 2013. She went to Germany and joined her longtime friend, Tina Turner. She was marrying there. And She went out to buy a bag from a high-end shop, and there was a bag which was like $38,000 or euros, and she want to buy that. And she asked the clerk to show her that bag, and the clerk said, "Nah, check other bags." This clerk looked at Oprah. She didn't recognize her, that she's a top dog in the media industry. She thought she cannot afford to buy that because of her color. And she was unwilling to open the glass and show her the bag. She asked 3 times and she walked away. She didn't make it a big deal. After a while, in an interview or a speech, she mentioned about that experience, and it became a big thing. The media caught fire talking about it. The museum bureau apologized. The owner of the shop came out, defended the clerk. It was a language barrier. It was no discrimination, mistreatment because Oprah was black, but it was a misunderstanding, and he apologized. And his point was, unless you are like Oprah, there's no way that you can change things. You have to just admit that you are an underdog. One thing he missed was that Oprah was an underdog. I read her books, the kind of thing she did to come out from underdog, working as a reporter. Nobody knew about her when she was in Baltimore and where she is today. She didn't get there by luck or by chance or by just wishing it. She did certain things that shifted her mindset. That's why she got there. Today, what I'm going to share with you is a science behind how you change your mindset, even if you were born with many disadvantages. This science is called epigenetics. You and I, we already know that we inherited our hardcore genetics, like our color, our facial appearances, and also our height, and so on and so forth from our bloodline. But there is a part of genetic, which is epigenetics, which also influences us today based on our bloodline, how they were thinking, the things they were afraid of, or the things they were addicted, and so on and so on. This is a new science. It's not yet popular. But the idea is we also inherit from our bloodline, not just the hardcore genetics that determines our physical appearance. There was an experiment. There was a mouse rat. The experiment was they were electrocuting her while she was smelling a particular flower. I didn't like the treatment, but they were trying to help humanity by doing this experiment on a rat. And the mouse was experiencing electrocution while she was smelling a particular flower. After that, she got pregnant and she had a baby mouse. The mother, she died. And this new baby, whenever they make her smell the flower, she reacts as if she was electrocuted. What happened? Because the experience of her mother was transferred in the epigenetic to the baby mouse. That's why she was reacting. There was no electrocuting, but she was reacting as if she was electrocuted. Epigenetic is good. Partly it helps us to survive. If we were not pre-wired when we were in the womb, when we get out, we may not cry and we may die. Certain things were pre-wired in us from our bloodline to help us to survive. But unfortunately, some of them help us to survive, but some of us could lock us. And we may think that that's our destiny. You might have heard people saying, oh, you're drunkard like your grandpa, or you're angry like your grandma. What are they saying? Because those behaviors, those habits transferred to that person from the bloodline. The question is this: what do you want to do about it? You didn't choose in which country you're born, in which system you are operating, in which culture, in which subculture, in which family you're born. That's what you got. You didn't choose it. The question is this: what you're going to do to change some of the unfavorable epigenetics. And I'm going to suggest to you 4 simple things you could do. But remember this, I'm writing a book on this, and I'm going to explain everything in detail. But for now, what I'm giving you is a chance for you to recognize that there are certain things that predisposed you to become an underdog, but that's not your final destiny. When you look at people who were underdog, transformed into become top dog, they have done certain things. And one of the things they did was they controlled what they were thinking. They were rewiring their brain. They were erasing the neural pathways that predispose them to be underdogs. We have the ability to rewrite our brain by focusing on what we think. If some thoughts come to you, to the mind space of yours, and if they are reinforcing you being an underdog, you have the power to stop and deny them the airspace. Stop them. If you starve some thoughts, they die. After a while, you start to think in the opposite direction. And that creates neural path. After a while, the way you think is not underdog. Yes, you are an underdog physically, maybe economically, maybe status-wise, but you are a top dog in your mind. That's why sometimes people look at you, they see he's like me. And they don't understand why you're thinking differently, and they think you're crazy, or they think you're delusional, or they think you're egotistical, and they think this is wrong. If you are an underdog, you have to think like an underdog. But that's not what we learn from people who transformed themselves from underdog to top dog. They think differently. They rewire their brain through their thinking. The second thing you could do is speak right. Don't casually say, I'm sick, I'm poor, I'm insignificant. Reverse that. Be careful about your words, because your words could be implanted in you, consciously or unconsciously, to dictate your wiring. You want to speak positively. Even you are experiencing setbacks, you have to contextualize that. Don't give up. I'm not saying deny reality. I'm not saying admit defeat. But when you contextualize it, the message you are sending to your brain is, this is just temporary. This is not my destiny. This is not the end for me. I still have a fighting chance. That's what you're telling your brain while you're speaking. Remember, all of these things I'm telling you, they are within your control. The other things that my colleague was talking about, they're out of your control. It's hard to change a system or a culture or a subculture. But what I'm suggesting is doable by you starting from today. The third thing you could do is change your behavior, your habits. Study people who are underdogs. They have certain habits. Study also the top dogs. They have certain habits. What's the difference? Habits that empower and habits that disempower. The question is, do you have habits that empower you to succeed, to overcome, to pursue your passion and get fulfilled in life? These habits could be 3, 4. high-performing habits. You form them, and then they shape you. One habit could be the habit to read. You can see at the back of my screen, these are books I read. I have other books that I haven't read. These are already books I have read because I want to stop and acknowledge people who succeeded ahead of me. I step on their shoulder to learn from them. By doing that, I'm rewiring my brain. I am overcoming my disadvantage. I don't need years to learn by myself. I can start to learn from other people's biography, autobiography, and experience. The fourth thing you could do is act. This is the most powerful one. You can have great mindset. You can have great positive words. You can have great habits and behaviors. You act like a top dog, even if your pocket is empty. Great. You have that behavior. You reach out to people and you speak like you are already top dog. Great. The action determines whether all of this translate your destiny from underdog to top dog down the road. To transform your destiny, to shape your future. What kind of actions? I can tell you a couple of things. Let's say that actually I want to share my own story, how I act. I'm an underdog. I'm still an underdog. Of course, if you ask people in my village, I was born and raised in one of the poorest villages in Ethiopia. And if you ask people from my village, they will tell you that I'm a top dog for them because they see the difference between where I was. If I tell you, you can't even imagine that I was living in that kind of conditions. For them, I'm top dog. But for me, from where I am to where I am going, I'm an underdog. But there are actions I'm taking, even this live session. Even if people don't watch it, listen to it, that's not the main goal for me. Whatever I learned, I share it, which means the more I share, the more I'm rewiring my brain. Of course, in the process, some people may learn. I write books. Some people ask me, Hazy, your books are not like bestsellers. Why are you keep on writing? They're right if you see it from that angle. From the angle I see it is I'm taking an action based on my belief, which is whatever I learn, I share, I write. Of course, one of my books became bestseller, but that was not my motivation. My motivation is I'm taking action and I am sharing what I know. Another action I take is I reach out to people. Sometimes I want to interview them in my podcast. They are top dog. And I'm sure some of them are very kind. They respond and they help. But some people, I can imagine what they're thinking. Oh, this guy doesn't even have enough views. He's not known. Why is he trying to come at my level? I'm not, at his stage, and I'm above his pay grade. Why is he reaching out? I understand them, by the way, because I have to save their time and energy. From my perspective, however, is I am acting based on not my current underdog status, based on where I'm heading. And in most cases, I get lucky. There are people who support you, knowing that you're an underdog. But I want to warn you, whenever I reach out to people who are influential than me, successful than me, I respect them. When I reach out, I'm not reaching out like I'm entitled. I see some people reaching out to me as if they are entitled. But that's not the way I do it. The way I act is, look, I need this help. Maybe bringing them to my podcast or endorsing my book. But I offer also something to help them. I could say, hey, I can promote your new book. I can share the raw video. I can promote your product and services. If you have an event close to where I am, I can come and volunteer. I can also give a 1 hour or 2 hour webinar to the community that you support. Based on their personality, I always offer something. I don't just go out there and ask favor. But the main goal for me is I don't depend on my status. For some people, it looks like I'm taking actions because I'm naive, egotistical, whatever. That doesn't matter. When I speak this, if you have been already doing this, you agree with me, it's a confirmation for you. If you have never done this, you may think I am just being delusional. I'm sorry for that. But my belief is this: even if you are one person, you're going to get a chance to try what I shared with you. Believe me, if you do it for 1 month, 2 months, you'll see the difference. When I started to speak and coach and so on, a lot of people discouraged me. There is no way that you could coach other people, other leaders in trend. I've done it after a while. There are people also right now, they tell me right in my face, in this industry you just entered, there's no place for you. From their perspective, yes. From my perspective, I don't think like that. That's what I'm encouraging you. I'm not telling you what I don't do. I'm telling you what you could do. And also, I'm not telling you expensive stuff, hard stuff. I'm just telling you, think differently, speak differently, behave differently, and act differently. If you do these 4 things on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, you could see the difference right away. This is my hope that some years from now, you come up to me and tell me that I remember you were sharing this and this. I tried them. I am now a top dog in my industry, in in the area of my passion. That's the kind of testimonial I'm expecting. If you want to reach out and share with me your story, or if you want to work with me and with my team, please reach out. Until I see you with another video, have a great day. Thank you for watching.